Good evening and welcome to January 18th, 2022, Common Council, City of Connersville. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Tommy Williams.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Levi.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you. We praise you for this evening and what you're doing in Connersville. Father, we pray for those who are hurting tonight. We also pray for those who are experiencing joys. We just pray that you will continue to just lead the council as they decide what policies and stuff to do. And we just pray that you would just lead and guide them in all decisions. And Father, we just thank you and praise you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening and remind you to make sure your cell phone ringers are off. We'll begin with roll call.
Councilman Gray,
Present.
Councilman Collins,
Present.
Councilman Warner,
Here.
Councilwoman Barrett,
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr.,
Present.
Councilwoman Phillips,
Present.
Councilman Robb.
Here. We have the minutes from the January 3rd, 2022 regular meeting. Are there any additions and corrections to that? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, move on down to new business. We can take item A and B together. And I guess I need to read before I talk, so. We have pending ordinance 3763 and 3764. Rosemary?
Pending ordinance 3763 is an ordinance enabling us to encumber $3,400.24 into the council grant expense. This was a desk and a file cabinet that was ordered in 2021, but actually was received in 2021, but won't be paid for until 2022. Pending ordinance 3754 is an ordinance to encumber $125,877.93. This is the balance of the contract to repair the park swimming pool.
Any questions?
I move we pass pending ordinance 3764 and 3763.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on first reading. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We have a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And a motion for third and final reading.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
We have approval of pending orders 3765, note to the Sauer Department. Rosemary?
The last ordinance that we approved, there was an item left off, so we had to amend it once more.
Any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve pending orders 3765 on first reading.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And a motion for third and final reading.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Am I going too fast?
Aye.
Sorry. Any opposed, same sign. She go for as fast as she can. I'm sorry. Okay. Item D, E, and F can go together. They're all reimbursements. Rosemary?
Resolution 2022-01 is a resolution to reimburse $379.99 into the police telephone. Resolution 2022-02 is a resolution to reimburse the park telephone in the amount of $50. Resolution 2022-03 is a resolution to reimburse DOT garage and motor supplies in the amount of $150.
Questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve resolution 2022-01, 02, and 03.
So moved.
A motion is second. All in favor
Second.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Hey, Bill, come on up, sir. We have pending ordinance 3766.
Well, you've gone so fast, we're in a hurry to get out of here this evening.
Moving along.
Okay, yes, I appreciate that also.
No lollygagging here.
That's a good thing. Okay, lollygagging free zone. Okay, what I'm here for is there's two items, they're related. But the first is the actual ordinance. Well, I'll step back, so a lot of people may not be familiar, that might be, say, watching on television. It's starting the COVID year, when 2020 was when it was first proposed by the Area Plan Commission to update the fee schedule, to bring them in line with, since the fees were, with the exception of the new items such as the wind farm, and then also with the sign regulation updates. Other than that, all fees were from 1993. Even at that time, the fees would not have covered all the cost of the inspections, that the services that this office does, whether it's inspections or whether it's petitions. And so the idea was to then update it, bring it up to take into consideration that these should really cover the cost of the services. Otherwise, the rest of the taxpayers are subsidizing a special service for someone else. I don't think, most of us probably don't want that. Okay, so the items that were actually, in the ordinance, well, actually, the fees are in 3 locations. There's places in the zoning code, then there's one location in the subdivision regulations, and then also in the building code ordinance that the ordinances the city and the county adopted. Now, this ordinance right here, and this was started after the county commissioners adopted a new fee schedule for the Fayette County Area Plan Commission as a county office. So these were in the fee schedule for the signs, filing fees and forms, which is where it was located, in the zoning code, the other items, and then in the subdivision regulations, which are the fee required. Now, what I did was I used language is that all the references to previously the fees, they all reference the county fee schedule that was adopted. So it still makes reference to the fees. These fees are still particularly required, but they go back to the Area Plan Commission ordinances adopted by the commissioners. And those are the items that we can delete through the ordinance in this manner. Now, the second item that I provided for everybody that is the sample bill, well, it's the building code ordinance. Now, the Area Plan Commission, because of, it's very clear of what the authority of the Area Plan Commission is over. It is not directly over building codes, building code administration. Okay, those are left for the ordinances between the city and the county. Now, the reason that this office, the Area Plan Commission, since 1993, possibly even before that, was taking care of doing the inspections and the fees is because it was the ordinance that were adopted was basically the city and the county agreed that is the appropriate office to do the inspections and the fees, since it's already involved with the development. And that avoids duplication of services between the city and the county. So you have one office, one location, which is pretty much standard in a lot of jurisdictions. We're speaking at the county commissioners meeting. So what's required, now it has to happen before the adoption of a building code ordinance that adopts it locally, is that we have the language, we send that into the state of Indiana for the Fire Building Commission out of the Department of Homeland Security. They then have to approve the language to make sure it is consistent with Indiana code. And one of the things that's happened also since 1993, there have been changes to the Indiana code regarding building codes, building ordinances, and inspections. So that'll be a primary one, is so that the state of Indiana can ensure that we will not be in violation, will be consistent with the Indiana code. I know some of you who may have been around at the time when we went through at least the second time we did the floodplain regulations. It's the same thing because of federal and the state law, the floodplains, so before we can actually implement them, they have to be approved by DNR to make sure they're consistent with the rules that oversee it. And so once we have a sign off from the state of Indiana, the county commissioners would hold a public hearing, as would the city council, for adopting the building code ordinance. So essentially what that does is it adopts the language there adopts those that are referred by reference to the state of Indiana. You'll see, probably saw the sections with the residential building code, the one and two family building code, the regular building code, the plumbing code, the electric code, the energy code. All these are just adopted by reference. And when you do it adopt by reference, every time the state of Indiana then makes changes, either amends or they adopt a new model code, we're covered. So with all of these. And so, speaking with Mr. Wesson briefly at the commissioners meeting, is that my biggest concern was the entity for both the city and then also the county of who's going to handle appeals to my orders, which would mostly be, say, stop work orders, or I give them a violation for doing something wrong with the building permit. That are building without a permit, could be something like that. They have a right to appeal. Now we want it clear to where the appeal entity is. So as you already have it set up with what the Board of Public Works does, here's appeals to code violations. That say it's a dangerous buildings violation, they appeal to the Board of Works. So someone appeals my order under the building codes, they would then appeal to the Board of Public Works. Then following that, if someone still isn't happy, then it follows up through the court system. And then with the county commissioner, with the Fayette County would be the county commissioner. Since they are in essence, for the county, the way it's set up as the de facto building commission. It's sort of how the Board of Works would essentially function as the city building commission. So once that's done, I get these back, I'll get those back from the state of Indiana. If they approve, then it'll be up to the city and then the county adopting their building code ordinances. You have to hold the hearing. The Area Plan Commission does not, because as I said, it is not under direct legal authority through Indiana planning law. So that's where it would take out the references to fees in the building code. And the state of Indiana for a long time has wanted to get your fees out of the building code, because if all we wanted to do is update the fees in the building code, well, we'd have to update it, we would have to send that building code into the state of Indiana just to adjust our building codes. So it's a lot of extra hassle, and so there's three places you could do it, because the ways you could legally have it would have been in the zoning codes, zoning code and subdivision code. You can actually legally do it through through the rules of procedure for the Area Plan Commission, which is not recommended because it takes it out of the political process. So so it was determined that probably because there is a process, there is a hearing process that to then have it adopted, the fees adopted as a county ordinance, and that's why that was done that way. So as I said, what this just does is it's deleting and eliminating redundant references to fees in the building code and the subdivision regulations. And so if there's I know that's a lot that I just went through really quickly, but if anybody has some questions about that before we move on, I'm more than happy to answer.
Good question I have.
Yeah, sure.
Does this include if the person wants to install a new culvert on their property, do you get a
No, this does not,
fee for that?
this does not deal with culverts. This just deals strictly with the things that actually, construction itself. If someone wants to put a culvert in, are you talking about what, within a right of way or what?
Yeah, it's all right just to replace one or
Okay,
put a new one in.
Okay.
They have to get a permit for that.
okay, not through us. If there is to replace a culvert, and it's part of someone else's jurisdiction, say such as if it's part of a drainage easement, or if it's something that's a culvert that's maintained either by under the authority of the Connersville Utilities, or if it be under the authority of the Fayette County, within the right-of-ways, then the permission to install and repair the culvert, they get the permission through, either through the Board of Public Works or the county commissioners. Because I don't, and I feel very strongly that something that's in your right-of-way, the city's right-of-way, or the county's right-of-way, I have no business issuing permits without the specific permission by the jurisdiction in place. So that would be, that'd be through a drainage utility if it's actually in there. If it's on private property and they're installing one, I'd say because they have to, with the drainage, they probably have to take into consideration is how much drainage they're going to say dump into the city's stormwater system.
Okay. But there's no fees for that,
No, we don't have any fees for doing that, no.
because I didn't see anything in here.
No. Well, it's kind of like I don't know if you've been around when, we've had entities over time where that, we want to use the city or the county right away for some of the upgrades under the, with particularly some of the fiber, where they've had to go under city right of ways.
Okay.
Well, they've got to get permission from the city to use your right of way. And then the big one is going under your right of way, which is why I always send someone who's asked those questions to, if it's in the city, get permission through the Board of Public Works. Because that's where that authority lies.
Thank you.
And it would be comparable to that.
Any other questions for Bill? Okay, we have pending orders 3766. We need to look for permission to approve on the amending the zoning code fee schedule.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We have a motion for, to suspend the rules.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And a motion for third and final reading.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Oh, and Rosemary, if I could get 2 copies of the ordinance for my records, and then when it's just ready, I can come over and pick them up, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so if at any time there's any questions on this as we're going through this, is with any ordinance, is I know most of you have heard me that I'm always open, ready to ask questions. You can stop by, you can call, you can send me an email. And yeah, that's part of my job, and I want to make sure everybody has the information they need to make a reasoned decision.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, item H, approval of pending orders 3767, to sewer SR bond ordinance. This would be the first or second reading only. Brad, you want to talk about that?
Howdy. Has everybody read this bond ordinance?
I understand it.
Well, maybe you can explain it to me. This is pretty tough stuff. Jeff's went over this, and he's been in this process.
No issues.
It basically outlines the financial commitments that will be within this bond and describes sort of the history of our other bonds and how this project will move forward as far as the bonding goes. So if you saw any numbers in there that scared you, they are pretty scary. But the $25 million number is a little bit, it's inflated by quite a bit. It's inflated on the project estimate end, and it's inflated again on this bond end because I just want to make sure the bond's big enough just in case the project overbids at a, you know, in the times we're in, projects are overbidding right now, so I can try to answer questions about this if you have any, or Jeff can. This will be the beginning of several moves that you have to make at different meetings over the next 6 weeks or so to approve through this process. Just so you know, I think I had told you, but what we think this project is going to cost will be about 17 or 18 million. 75% of that debt will be taken on by stormwater and 25% by sewer. And I'm still working out the details, but the city will make either a $5 or $6 million down payment on that 18 million out of our own funds, so.
Not the city, but utilities.
The utilities, I'm sorry, yes. Yep.
Because the city doesn't have that much money.
Wishful thinking.
Just putting that out there.
The city utilities will make that 6 million, probably a $6 million down payment on this 18 million.
I think this is for an improvement for the treatment facility.
This is for the Headworks project at the wastewater plant.
This is part of the,
Long-term control.
it's the long-term control plan, but it's also IDEM has, this is something that really forces our hands, so explain that so people understand that.
We're under an agreed order with IDEM. That's about a 30-year program. The utilities was required to spend about $32 million. We are now at about $21 million remaining on that commitment. This project will be 17 or 18 million of that. So we'll have, by the time we get this financed and completed, we'll have met about 80 or 90% of our obligations under the long-term control plan.
And the deadline, drop dead date of that is
2031,
2031.
but the amount that the community owes is always sort of a fluid number because they base it on what they think you can afford to pay. So the better we do, the more we're gonna owe. So as financial standing of the community improves, that $32 million number will just continue to climb, unfortunately. But I guess what you're wanting me to say is we don't have any choice in this, really.
No, what I'm getting
These are
from-
things that we have to do. We can't help it.
It is not a choice, but it's
Yeah.
also, so I want everyone to understand, we're just out there spending money because we want to put $15 million in our wastewater treatment facility. We're putting 17, $18 million because we're really forced to.
The good thing is, I think I told you before, this project is also gonna move our raw sewage pumps out to this new facility, which is something that's needed done for a long time. So we're getting a little bit of added benefit from this project.
Correct. Any questions for Brad?
Does this enhance our stormwater separation project too?
Yeah, so some areas of Connersville, we went into and completely separated stormwater catch basins out of the sewer. Obviously, we can't do that through the whole city. We couldn't afford to do that. So what this project does is it will eventually catch 4 million gallons of overflow when we have a big rain event. And it'll hold that water, and then as the flow at the plant goes down, it'll let that water slowly through the plant. So what happens now is when we have a big rainfall, it just kind of forces water through the plant, not untreated, but not treated at an optimum level. This will allow us to treat all those overflows at a better result.
Any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay, if no questions, I'll entertain approving pending ordinance 3767 on first reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you very much.
Now, are we gonna do it on second reading, and then
Well,
it says first and second, are we gonna do it?
we do the
through-
second reading now, then just have to postpone the third reading after the public hearing? Okay. Well, I'll take a motion to approve pending ordinance 3767 on second reading now. Motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Very much, motion carried. Okay, move on down to department report. Nope, I'm sorry, I did it again, didn't I? Adam, you're up, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anytime I can poke you.
Good evening. I know everyone's excited to go through some year-end numbers here. So we've got, what's going to be electronic is what you've got in your packets as well. And I know for some of you, this is the second time you've seen it. So I'll try to be concise and allow plenty of time for questions. So as far as just an update on the budget and planning process, wanted to go through and just provide a quick update on some high-level numbers with regards to 2021. These are obviously unaudited, and we're still waiting for everything to be closed out, but we wanted to be able to present some initial results for your consumption. Look at a little bit of trend analysis, and then ultimately look at kind of current status of tasks as well. Okay, so there's a couple different things here. The ones I would call out would be mainly looking at the general fund. At this point, the gross revenue and receipts for 2021 came in at $11.1 million. It was actually down year over year compared to 2020. Some of the factors that led to that was when we look at the kind of the core top 5 or 6 revenues for the general fund, handful of those were actually down year over year. So property tax, your number one revenue source, actually was slightly lower year over year. Additionally, 2020 had some grant revenues as well that made it just a higher comparable as well. So year over year down slightly. Total property taxes collected, not billed, but collected in the general fund came in at just shy of $5.3 million. That was down approximately 2%. The total amount of property taxes allocated to the general fund versus the city at large was 75%. So as we go through this, especially as we get into thinking about 2023, the city each year gets to certify a levy. So as part of the council's adopted budget process, you're passing a certified levy. Now in the state of Indiana, that's what can be billed on what's called the abstract, but ultimately you're constrained by property tax caps, okay? And the property tax cap in Connersville and in this county are quite large. They're over $4 million in the city at large as far as a write down of that. So the net collection is really what we're focusing on from a financial planning perspective. So for the purposes of 2021, 75% of that net levy was allocated to the general fund. And year to year, you have the opportunity to decide if you want to allocate money in different places. So currently, the remainder portions of that go to motor vehicle highway. There's a little bit that goes to the airport, some that goes to the cemetery, as well as parks, and cumulative capital development for that matter. The reserve balance was just under 3.1 million. One of the metrics that we'll track and communicate with you often is the reserve ratio, or kind of a reserve as a percentage. As of 12/31/2021, it came in around 26%. So the other way you can think about that is that's about a quarter of the year. So think about it more of a kind of normal business accounting terms. At the end of the year, you had 90 days working capital. So if we had no revenue received for the city, you essentially could go 90 days by just running off of your accumulated cash position. Okay, that's pretty good actually. In the term of local government finance, a lot of bond underwriters and rating agencies look to see about 2 to 3 months in reserve. So I would say you're right where you kind of would want to be. Higher sometimes is not always better, right? Especially as you all know, cash interest rates aren't very good. So, and then lastly, the total expenditures were 12,284,000, which is higher than the recorded revenues. However, there was a transfer out to clean up some Fund 100 kind of accumulated historical type things. So without getting too detailed there, while all your reports are going to say 12,284,000, from a cash outflow standpoint, it was actually closer to about 11.3 million in total cash out the door compared to 11.1 million cash in the door. Okay. All right. You'll go to the next slide, please. So looking at the top revenues, and this is in your packet, and I did catch a mistake we caught a mistake after I had sent this out. There's the trash fees. I have those numbers, so they're not zero there. So I'll explain here in a moment. But this is something that as we do these probably look at these on an annual, maybe mid-year basis. These are in the general fund. These are your top 6 revenues. Okay, so there's all kinds of revenues getting received to the general fund. You've got those in your packet. You can see it all the way down to the dollar. But these 6 account for 91% of the general fund's revenue. So what I would recommend for council is that you have a good understanding of the health of these 5 or 6, because they're really driving the resources, right? If you're kind of familiar with the Pareto principle or the 80-20, these are the 90-10, okay? So in this case, property tax came in at just under 5.3. It was down slightly year over year. We are drilling into that, try to get our hands and heads around why that decreased in a year that your levy went up. Short answer is circuit breaker. The longer answer is we're still figuring it out. Secondarily, you have local income tax, EMS fees, trash, payment in lieu of tax, and then the EMS county share. Historically, when you look at trash fees, the 2018 should be $625,909, and 2019 should show $625,496. So by and large, they've been consistent, relatively flat over the last few years. The last item I would point out is that you can kind of see that percentage of 91%. Again, that's the amount of total revenue that those six revenue sources account for. And then the very bottom percentage of 48%, that's how much per year property tax accounts for the total, okay? So of the total revenue in 2021, property tax collected were 48%. So I always like to try to think of things as like personal finance, right? We want to try to have, we don't want to try to have all of our eggs in one basket. We want to try to make sure we're not overly reliant as a city on one revenue source. So nearly 50% from property tax is pretty high. So one of the things we'll want to do over time, while growing the size of the pie, we'll also want to make sure that we don't get too reliant on one or a few revenue sources, okay? So ideally, we'd like to see the total revenue picture increase over time, while that amount specifically related to property tax slightly decrease over time, to show that you were getting more diversified with the revenues that are supporting the city, okay? The last slide I believe I have is my kind of current status of task. So what we're working on currently is broken into these 2 different main work streams. So we're continuing to, this quarter, work with departments on replacement plans. As we start thinking long-term, it's becoming critical that we have an understanding of what, not just the current cost is, but what's the complete cost, right? What are we paying for today? And then more importantly, what are we not paying for today that we really need to make sure we have a plan for? And we're also looking at trash fees, and then on the kind of the long-term planning perspective in preparation of the 2023 budget season, we're starting to, now that we have a couple years of historical data compiled, we're now starting to think about, okay, how have they been trending over the last few years, and then what does that look like from a projection, so that in a subsequent meeting, hopefully at your next meeting, we can start to show you an actual forecast of current status quo just out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, so we can all have visibility to outlook, and we hopefully don't have fires, and we can be proactive there in policy decisions. So anyway, in your packets, you have a couple different types of reports. We are totally open to make any modifications here. These are still admittedly a work in progress. They're not as polished as I would like them yet, but I hope that we can keep working these to a point where it serves you all and it gives you the information that you need. So the first few pages are revenue trends. So it's looking at general fund year over year and comparing those side by side so you can see how those are looking. Additionally, in your packet, you have more of a traditional kind of profit and loss or revenue and expense for all funds. And that's every fund in the city. And then we also have a budgetary breakdown as well for all of the departments in the general fund. There's much more that we can provide, but I know from just, experience that this stuff what I don't ever want to do is just overload you with a bunch of volume. I want to make it to where we're providing you reports that really help you make a decision. So look at these, let us know, give us feedback. We can continue to customize these. We have the data and we have the ability to kind of tailor these to your needs. So with that, I appreciate the time. I'm happy to answer any questions. And otherwise, I'll see you at the next February status report update.
Any questions for him, was here?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Adam. In with what he was talking about, I was gonna talk about this later, but, pay attention to what state legislators doing, so, you have an ear with them, by the way, so there are things that they are looking to pass, adopt that could impact us financially in a pretty significant way. As a business guy, I see one hand, as a city employee now, I see the other side of it, so be paying attention, and if you have any questions on some things, what state legislators doing, you want some more answers, give me a call, because I try to keep my ear to the ground pretty close on what they're doing, and I'm on the phone with them quite a bit, letting them know where we stand, how it impacts us on decisions they make, because a lot of times they look at the donut counties and they kind of rule based on the donut counties, they don't really stretch out too far to the small counties, and so I really try to keep a pretty close eye on what's going on and let them know how it impacts us. But if you do that as well, that goes a long way, because they do listen. They do like the input, and it helps them make better informed decisions. So pay attention to what state legislators doing, their proposals, and then if you want to talk to me about it, you're more than welcome, but make sure you talk to your state legislators as well. And there's people running for office. I think there's 2 people signed up for Zipke's seat, and there possibly will be a 3rd, so make sure you're talking to them, because they want to talk to you. And make sure you know what they're thinking and directions they want to go, so just keep your ear close to that one. Okay, let's move on down to department reports. John, you're up first again.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of December, we had 11 hours, 48 minutes of meeting production, 23 hours, 49 minutes of original production. We were very busy in December. Just wanted to let everyone know a couple things. We've got a girls basketball game away Thursday at Pendleton Heights. We should be live from there. And then Saturday, we'll be at Batesville with boys basketball. One of the things that I just found out today that just started, if anybody wasn't aware of that, and I want to make sure that the community knows this as well. The federal government now offers free COVID tests that will ship to your home. If you want those, you can go to usps.com/COVID test, and they will ship 4 of those tests to your home directly for free. That's USPS, US Postal Service.com/COVID test. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Harden.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
As I said at the Board of Works, I know it's a very, very short report. I was out all week last week sick, and basically you got what I could pull from home. So I apologize for that. But we did do 374 calls for service, which is right about average for us. Year to date was 4419. I need to look. I'm pretty sure that is a new record for us for the year. So that is total responses, not necessarily transports. I do still have 3 medics that are off for various reasons. That's kind of a long-term ongoing thing, and at any point in time right now, it seems like I've got 2 to 4 people off at any point in time with COVID. So that's hitting us pretty good right now. Does anybody have any questions? Like I say, I know it's very abbreviated, there's not much meat on the bone there, but also kind of piggyback on what the mayor said, there is a bill in the, I believe it was House, to update EMS fees that are paid by Medicaid, which is governed by the state, funded by the feds to a certain extent, but administered by the state. Those fees haven't been updated, I want to say 1977. So there is a bill out there, and I can email everyone. I do not have the number of the bill in front of me. I was looking and I do not have it. So I've been watching it. I've sent some emails on that, but I'll send it to you guys. And if you feel the need to send an email or make a phone call, then by all means do so. So anybody have any questions?
I have one. I see you have 2 gas lines on here, items.
Yes.
I don't see any use for diesel. You have some diesel units too.
Yeah. So there's gasoline and then there's gas. 352 is like natural gas. And then I think the 221, the gasoline should read vehicle fuel, not necessarily gasoline. So yes, it's
So you're talking about the gas is natural gas?
the bottom one that just says gas. Fund 352 is natural gas,
Okay.
correct, Rosemary?
That's correct.
And then Fund 221, it's gasoline, probably should read motor vehicle fuel is what it probably should read more accurately. Yes, we've got two gas, 3 diesels right now.
So that one's gas and diesel.
It's gas and diesel, yes.
Would that be beneficial to separate those? Or more headache? I know it's.
Not from my standpoint, but like I say, it comes on the same bill. It does break it down, the big sheet printout of exactly what is what, you know. I mean, I can break it down to who got fuel at what pump at what time, but it does break it down by how much diesel we purchased, how much gas we purchased, so.
The other question I have is, I'm wondering if it's not beneficial to have the gallons due to the fact that fuel's rising so rapidly.
I mean, I think that's on the report, isn't it, total gallons?
I haven't seen it yet.
So it's basically the receipt printout, the bill that we get and go through and we correlate that, make sure we've got receipts for every transaction, checks and balance type of thing. So, I mean, if you want to know how many gallons of fuel we're burning, I'm pretty sure I can get that pretty easy, so.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Chief Jones is not gonna be here. They had a fire out in the county he's assisting on, so he will not be here. I'm sorry. Superintendent Good, you're up next. I skipped you. Sorry.
She didn't want to come up here.
Hey, put my picture up, John. Where's my audio?
I was gonna say, that's his,
Is that a trumpet?
I was gonna wait for you to tell what happened and then I'll do.
No, I want that first. I want the
Yeah.
audio. You guys can clap. It's okay.
That's great.
So our big news, we are building the J. Long Memorial Park. It will be built this year. Yay! I'm really excited because we surpassed our goal. Our original goal was $250,000. Right now we're at $265,000 and we still have some outstanding gifts. So, and that took 5 months. We did that in 5 months. That's like
Pretty good.
$50,000 a month
Yeah.
of fundraising. So this is no tax dollars, no grants, no city budget. It's all donations, and it's really something to be proud of. I want to recognize everybody that was part of the task force that helped us hit this goal. What we did is we took somebody from each of the organizations that has been involved with this project, So we had Carrie Pfeiffer from the Park Board, we had Becky Marvel from Purdue Extension, Brayton Johns from Community Voices, and I really have to recognize Brayton because all the social media posts you've seen, all of our mailers, this guy's been on it. Like, he made all that stuff. He's also, you know, trying to be a lawyer, going to school, and he's been amazing. Brad Wilson from the JCs, as well as Discover Connorsville, and Sharon McQueen from Discover Connorsville. So huge news. This is exactly what you will see by the end of the year. This is actually Plan B, but all we lost was a small portion of play space on the south side of that walking circle. So we're ending up with about 90% of what we wanted. So it's really amazing.
What an improvement from what,
Oh gosh,
I mean,
yes.
it's just, yeah.
I mean, it's going to look amazing. It's a huge step for the Parks Department. It's our first park that's going to be completely ADA accessible. Even the slide that's built into the hill there, that's accessible by the walking path. The blue is the rubber pour-in-place surfacing, so it's completely good for wheelchair, crutches. The gray is cement, and the brown is playground mulch. So you can transfer at the top of the hill if you need to. You can make yourself all the way around the park. You can get on the swings. So we're really excited about this. I wanted to explain the budget to you a little bit because originally we had set out to raise $250 because there was a grant available through the tourism department for an additional $250.
State tourism.
Yes, yes, not Diana and her. That would be amazing though.
Wouldn't it
I would
though?
have applied for that.
Yeah, we wish.
We found out in October that the states decided to reevaluate that program, so it was not going to be available. What we've been able to do to offset costs is we've had several contractors step forward, had a great meeting with them this afternoon. So Paul Martin is going to be doing the concrete work, and Alex Hudson is going to be doing the site prep, excavation, dirt work, pretty much any of the construction, building the shelter. So by getting all that labor at no cost, it's reduced the budget enough. And also we're going to get some materials for free. And then with the reduction we had on that side of the park, it's brought the budget down to where we can make it work without that grant. I think that's everything I wanted to say about 2nd Street. What?
Is there gonna be a plaque on this as well, on this park?
Yeah, it's
to
underneath that
recognize-
tree up in the top right corner.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Sorry, my kids are at basketball and they're calling me.
And the parking area was that taking up some of the park area? There on the north side there, I don't think that's on 2nd Street.
Yeah, just a little bit though.
Just for the angle parking, right?
He doesn't have the wholesale building in the graphic, but the cement path is 50 feet from that building.
From the wholesale?
Yeah. So that's where we're sitting. So yeah, it's coming in a little bit. We thought about putting the parking in the alley, but we thought it would be just more accessible to put it on 2nd Street. And then that way too, there's a place where like the bookmobile or food truck can pull in right in front of that shelter if they're going to be doing a food distribution or something like that.
I think that's a better plan.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Thank you.
Yep. I've got to go. I have children needing picked up. So if you have questions, let me know.
I just want to congratulate everybody that took part in that. It was a lot of work, and it's going to be really nice when it's
It really is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Coulter.
So on the street department report, there's not a whole bunch there. We're kind of transitioning from fall activities to winter activities. Mostly has been about getting ready to salt and plow as needed, so. It's been good.
Trust me, we will.
It's been good, but I bet we're gonna suffer about
Yeah, we're gonna-
April or something. Yeah, we have plenty of salt.
We're gonna pay.
We've got about 300 ton of salt waiting to be distributed, so,
Might have to share it with Kentucky.
yeah. So, that's street department unless you have any questions, and then the utility report, you can see what we've been up to. Mike reported to Board of Works today, we just got an upgrade in our technology that's been really nice. We had a leak that we couldn't find last Sunday, and we were all over East Connersville trying to figure out where the water was going because many houses were out of water. And I got to get out my phone and get on our GIS and use this new technology for the first time, and it was really helpful to be able to do that. And usually I'm the poor guy that has to go into the office and start digging through all the map drawers while them guys are out doing it. So it's nice to be able to stay out there on the scene and have that technology. And it's really relatively inexpensive. It's just an app that takes our WTH software and makes it accessible to our phones. So other than monthly fees, it's not too expensive. We've been working on a Walmart lift station. We've got probably about an $80,000 project to rebuild that. It's about 30 years old, so it completely needed to be revamped and some things replaced, and we put grinder pumps in there. And I just wanted to tell you, we've been spending a lot more time recently on development, which is very good news for Connersville. We've got about at least 4 or 5 new or revamped food establishments coming that we've been working on their drainage plans, and it takes quite a bit of time to put all that together and go over and review all those. So that's something I've been spending quite a bit of time on. And the other thing that we've been doing is getting ready for this Headworks project. I've probably spent the last 2 months mostly in design work for this project, and all of our office staff has been overworked trying to get the financials and everything ready for it. So I've been pretty proud of everybody's extra effort. And did you have any questions about any of the reports?
I don't have a question about the report, but I have other questions
Okay.
while you're here. Reported sometime on the 24th in Western, storm drain there in that corner, north corner. It's quite low. Can we put a cone in there or something until somebody?
I went up and looked at it after I talked to you. It needs to be all dug out and raised. The grate needs to be brought up to ground level, so it's a little bit of a project. That manhole there needs rebuilt, so it's a little more than just going to raise it, so.
Right. So I
It is-
didn't know if we could put a warning device there so people quit driving in it. Just go to the bottom of their cars up.
It's kind of a catch-22. We could literally put a plate over it and fill it up, but then it won't be able to take water
Right.
until we get up there to do it. We've just been extremely busy. We've had a backlog of leaks that we've been working on, and we'll get to it. I guess we could,
Is there like a drain cover you could put over it? Like you said, a plate, but it only has holes in it to drain?
maybe.
And it
I'll try to
doesn't-
take a look at it. I kind of drove over it. I didn't realize it was all that bad, but
Yeah.
you might think it's a little worse than I do. But it's,
I've got a few calls on it, so.
okay. I'll check it again.
The other thing I wanted to ask is, I noticed that a lot of the drains on Park Road has been broke. Whether it's been broke from snow removal by the state, or I don't know who, and I don't, it's not important now, it's broke. Those drains on the, on the side, west side of the street, I noticed mostly,
So like the drains that are in the curbs?
yeah. Is that ours or the state's?
The tops should belong to them. Yeah, I'll report those. I think they replaced a couple of them last year.
Well, they put concrete around them.
I think there was a couple that were messed up down around 18th Street that they replaced, so
There was some on the east side as well, but they have several on the west side now.
I'll try to see how many is broken and report that to NDOT.
Thank you.
Is that it? That was easy. Anything else?
What are they thinking of?
Brad, did they ever say anything on the center line on Fifth Street, East Fifth Street?
I brought that up to Milestone because they were the ones putting the paint down, and she said that she would more or less fly that up their flagpole and see if they wanted them to move it or something. So I don't know if that's something that we want to send them a letter. If everybody thinks that that's something that should be done, we could send them a letter officially from the city or something to.
I mean, because we do want semis to come in and out of town. And we want them,
I do know what you're talking about. They sort of readjusted what they think the middle of the road is over there. So I don't know why they did that, but
because it could be the center of the road, maybe.
I brought it up to Milestone while they were still working on the project, but the project's pretty much closed out now, so it would be an NDOT thing, so. I could get a hold of somebody at NDOT and talk to them about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Chief Bolos.
Good evening, and I apologize if I didn't get this in your packets last week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. So I want to take the time to recognize Officer Matt Reed, and his retirement was effective Sunday. He was here earlier for the Board of Works meeting. However, he's got prior commitments, so he couldn't make it this evening. But I want to just say that he was such a benefit to our department for so many years, like 25 plus years. He served our community well. He was one of our top trainers. So, you know what, we're going to miss that a lot because things he trained on, we didn't have to send guys out to get them. He was also an instructor that he could train a trainer. So he was very valuable in our department, and he's going to be missed in that aspect and others as well. So just want to make sure we recognize Matt Reed for his years of service. All right, so on to the reports. On our overtime, it's still up high, but it's gone down a little bit since the last reporting. Our yearly totals are there on the side. Is there any questions on any of our?
Is there 2021s on here?
2021?
Mine got cut off.
The 2021 overtime is up in the body of the report,
Yeah.
where at the bottom is just the history of the last 6
Fourth-
years.
Yeah.
Fourth one down.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got under,
The only thing I have, Chief, is just like first aid, I know gas prices are fluctuating. Is there a problem with putting gallons in that area also?
There shouldn't be. I mean, I can amend that. It comes on, I'll have
Monthly
Deputy
statement.
Chief McCurry, but he takes care of all the gas, and I can put gallons on
All
there.
right, thank you.
Anything else? So, on our law reports, we were at 850. On our non-injury accidents, we had 45. In our possession of paraphernalia, we're at 16. Drug-related arrest calls was 39. Totals for our drug task force last month was 15.3 grams of meth and 1 grams of fentanyl. Their totals for the year for meth was 456 grams and 40 grams of fentanyl. Through the month of December, we had 75 man-hours of training, mostly mandated topics, trying to finish up on those. Also, just for our body cams, I don't know. We were supposed to have them 2 months ago. They give us a projection of the middle of the month, February, so I'll keep you informed when those come online, and we'll have operating procedures for the use of those that I'll present also. So we're anxiously waiting for those to come in. Been waiting a few months for that to arrive. So, any other questions?
I have a comment for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been aware of it or not. I just recently found out about the parking site over there on Eastern Avenue in front of Wells Variety Store that was placed up there. I didn't know if you were aware of that or not.
We were made aware of that, but I mean, I didn't have no planning in that. I have no idea who
I think the state, that was,
did it on their own, did their own.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they informed you or not at the time they installed them.
It was prior to that. They installed it, last week, I think, or within the last week or so. I wasn't aware of the date that they were installing, but. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going down to old business. I did not get the employee handbook finished. I was out sick last week too, like everyone else. I did get some of your comments, so I'll be going through those on the next meeting packet. It'll be in there so you can review it. I've made quite a few changes already myself, so we'll get the handbook to you in the next meeting packet. So I apologize, but I couldn't see straight, so there's no way I could try to read and update, so it was bad. Is there any other old business for anybody? If not, is there any miscellaneous business? Clint, anyone out there from public? Okay, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign, motion carried.